Let's talk about something that's been worrying parents for decades now. Do those bright, artificial colors in kids' food actually make them more hyperactive? Well, the science here is surprisingly clear, and frankly, it's not great news. When you look at the randomized controlled trials, the gold standard of research, you see a consistent pattern emerging. Studies have repeatedly challenged children with artificial food colorings and then measured their behavior, and what they've found is that there's a measurable effect on attention and activity levels in susceptible children. Now, we're not talking about every single kid going bouncing off the walls, but for a subset of children, particularly those who are already prone to attention difficulties, these dyes seem to act as a trigger. Pediatric neurologists I've spoken with describe it as turning up the volume on behaviors that were already there. The Southampton studies in the UK were particularly revealing because they looked at general population children, not just those with ADHD, and found that certain color mixes consistently produced increased hyperactivity scores. The dosage matters too, and here's where it gets concerning. The amounts used in these studies weren't some astronomical laboratory doses. They were amounts that kids can easily consume in a day of typical eating. A few servings of brightly colored cereal, some fruit snacks, maybe a sports drink, and you're hitting those thresholds. Large birth cohort analyses have tracked thousands of children over time and found associations between dietary dye intake and behavioral problems that persist even after controlling for other factors like sugar intake and socioeconomic status. What's particularly striking is that when parents remove these dyes from susceptible children's diets, many report noticeable improvements in focus, emotional regulation, and sleep patterns. The effects aren't huge on a population level. We're talking about small to moderate effect sizes in the research literature, but for individual families dealing with a struggling child, even a 10 or 15% improvement in attention span or a reduction in impulsive behavior can be life-changing. The mechanism isn't fully understood yet, but researchers suspect these petroleum-based chemicals may interfere with neurotransmitter function in developing brains. And that's the real concern here. These are developing brains we're talking about, not fully formed adult systems. The precautionary principle suggests we should be much more careful about what we're feeding to millions of children every single day, especially when we have safer alternatives available.